In the Library is sponsored by Office Suite. For all your PDF, document creation, and email needs in one place, try Office Suite. Welcome, everybody. This is In the Library. I'm your personal librarian, Bill Girardo. On today's episode, I'm going to introduce you to a great little book called Stories from the Rolodex by Beverly Stoddard. So, come on in, take a seat, and let's turn some pages. Okay, so before I get into the book itself, just let me mention quickly, in the name of full disclosure, I know Beverly a little bit. We are both members of the New Hampshire Writers Project, and through a little buddy system there, we got paired up, and as a result, I was able to see a really, 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 really early draft of stories from the Rolodex. And at the same time, she got to see a draft of the book I was working on at the time. So this video is going to be based on the actual finished book, which actually has been out for a couple of years now. I just didn't have a YouTube a couple of years ago, so I'm going to talk about it now. This came out just before the international medical emergency we've been going through. So, but it is a fun read, and let's get into it. First of all, for the book itself, for younger kids, if you don't know what a Rolodex is, this device right here is a Rolodex. It's an analog. It's an analog contact list. You know, it's a little wheel, and you flip through it, and each card on the wheel has contact information, names, phone numbers, addresses, whatever else there may be on each card for the individual person. And then it was a really, really important tool in a reporter's or journalist's toolbox in before. So, and that's what this book is about. It is a series of interviews, and it's literally written in question and answer interview style that Beverly did with 16 reporters and other people, but 16 people in total. And they talk about their life and career as a journalist in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And they come from all kinds of different walks of life, all different sections of journalism, from a CBS News radio reporter, the Wall Street Journal, former editor for the Wall Street Journal, people from all around, a lot of people from New England, some people from right here in New Hampshire. Beverly, like myself, is a New Hampshire-based writer. So a lot of people from New Hampshire, and all kinds of different subject matters. They talk about reporting on Martin Luther King, reporting on Vietnam, George Carlin's Seven Dirty Words, everything up to the Challenger explosion. So, which, by the way, I did do a video on a book about the Challenger explosion, which I will put up at the end. All kinds of different subject matters and all different kinds of people. One of which is former reporter Karen Gray Houston, who was based in Boston, and she was a Black female reporter during the time of the busing crisis or situation in Boston in the 70s. So it's nice to get their take on things, on the stories that they reported on through their eyes directly. One of the people is Charlie Fisk. If you are a member of my generation, or if you just know history a little bit, Charlie is the father of Jamie Fisk, who needed a liver transplant as a baby, and Charlie's efforts through the media resulted in the creation of the first organ transplant list or registration. And he got that whole thing started because of his daughter and through his use of the media. So there's a story on that. One of the more compelling stories, in addition to Fisk, is the story in the interview with John Harrington. John Harrington was a local reporter here in New England, in New Hampshire, and he ultimately was a Pulitzer Prize nominee for the reporting of his own editor's murder. And I mean, it's never good that your friend is murdered, but it's interesting the line that he had to tread between grieving for his friend and his coworker while at the same time trying to be objective and do his reporter's work on the story. So that's a nice, it's not nice, but it's a thread that you have to line that you have to try to navigate when you have this really personal thing going on, while at the same time having to put your journalist hat on and report the story. So that was a pretty compelling interview. At the end of the book, the epilogue is called Death of a Press. And in this case, the word press means literally the physical machine that was used to print the newspapers. In this case, it was the press at the Union Leader, which is New Hampshire's largest newspaper, and its only statewide newspaper here in New Hampshire. And at some point, they decided to outsource the actual printing of the newspaper, which means they didn't need their press anymore. And so the epilogue takes us through the process of dismantling this giant machine in this giant warehouse-sized room, and the process of doing that, and how that machine works, and what it takes to dismantle this equipment. So that itself was interesting, but I think Death of a Press is also a double meaning. This is just my own opinion on this. Death of a Press also means the change in how journalism is done from the time that our interviewees, our stories, these folks telling their stories, from when they were journalists and how journalism was done in their generation, now moving into the digital age, and how the younger generation is doing their own kind of journalism. Not making any comment on whether today's journalism is better or worse or the same as the former generation of reporters. That's not the kind of videos we do here, but it is a change. with social media in the digital age, 24-hour news, and all the rest of that. It is different from the former generation of reporters. So Death of a Press, in my opinion, speculation on my part, has that double meaning. And I think it's true. I think it's true because there has been that change. So anyway, overall, this is a well-written book. The stories and interviews are compelling, and it is a little bit of a niche book. A lot of people don't really think about reporters. But if you do like history and you'd like to see history told through the eyes of the journalists and the reporters and the photojournalist, one of the people interviewed here is a photojournalist, which is a very interesting and can be a very compelling kind of journalism itself, then this is a good book to pick up. I am actually going to go as far as to say that this book should be mandatory reading for journalism students. Because of that change in guard and how this generation of journalists does things differently to some extent. This generation of journalists, I think journalism students would be well served by taking a read of this book. So I do recommend it. If you want more information on Beverly Stoddard and stories from the Rolodex, I have links right down in the description for that. I also have a link to New Hampshire Writers Project. If you're a writer and you'd think about joining us, you're more than welcome. It's called New Hampshire Writers Project, but it's not limited to New Hampshire writers. We have writers from really starting to get nationwide now. So you can take a look at that. While you're there, please take a look at the link to our sponsor, Office Suite, and get 5% off your Office Suite purchase. And finally, take a look at this link right here. This is a brand new link for our merch here in the library. You can take a look at that. We have sweatshirts and t-shirts and pillows and mugs, all kinds of things. So give us a like, give us a subscribe, hit the notification bell, and all the other YouTube-y things. And in the meantime, thank you for watching. And as always, please keep on reading.